I feel like the whole of India was actually rooting for South Africa. So,
lasted a bit longer than expected.
Ruchika, it was the last wicket partnership.
The last wicket,
Can you
yes, of
imagine?
course.
जय हिंद फ्रेंड्स, मेरी तरफ से आप सबको एक प्यार भरा नमस्कार। कैसे हैं आप सब लोग? मैं बिल्कुल ठीक हूँ और आशा करती हूँ कि आप भी बिल्कुल ठीक होंगे। तो फ्रेंड्स, WTC फाइनल जो साउथ अफ्रीका ने जीत लिया है, उसका बहुत जबरदस्त सेलिब्रेशन हुआ है साउथ अफ्रीका में, और हमने भी एज इंडियन फैंस कहीं ना कहीं होप किया था, साउथ अफ्रीका के लिए ही हमने रूट किया था। और उसी सिलसिले में मेरी बातचीत हुई है केप टाउन क्रिकेट क्वीन या द क्रिकेट क्वीन कहलाने वाली तान्या से, जो साउथ अफ्रीकन है और ऑफ कोर्स साउथ अफ्रीका की टीम को रूट कर रही थी, और इस फाइनल के बारे में एंड अबाउट द विनिंग स्ट्रेटजीज ऑफ द टीम एंड हाउ दे वन द मैच एंड व्हाट शी फेल्ट अबाउट इट। वी हैड अ लॉन्ग कॉन्वर्सेशन, मेरी अच्छी खासी लंबी बातचीत हुई है उनसे, और वही बातचीत मैं आपके लिए लेकर आई हूँ इस वीडियो में। सो डू एंजॉय दिस। ऑफ कोर्स बातचीत इतनी लंबी थी कि मुझे लगा, क्योंकि हमने काफी कुछ कवर किया है, तो इसीलिए ये वीडियो जो है वो 2 पार्ट्स में आपके लिए मैं लेके आई हूँ। ये पहला पार्ट है, दूसरा पार्ट में आपको इसी सीरीज का कल दिखाऊंगी। सो आई होप यू एंजॉय इट, एंड इसी तरह की वीडियोस मैं आपके लिए और भी लाऊंगी। तान्या और मैं आगे भी कोलैबोरेट करते रहेंगे, तो अपना सपोर्ट दिखाइएगा, चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिएगा, वीडियो को लाइक कीजिएगा और कमेंट में अपनी राय जरूर बताइएगा।
Hello YouTube family, here we are talking about the WTC final that just concluded between Australia and South Africa, and I have with me the Queen herself. Hello Tanya, how are you? I'm sure you are all excited, and very big congratulations from all of us Indians to you. Your teams finally got a title, an ICC champion, ICC trophy, and I'm sure you're elated.
Yeah, it's been the support and the congratulations over the last one. They're still coming in. Like, this morning I went online and there's just like so many messages, and just thank you for everyone. I know there was a big, I feel like the whole of India was actually rooting for South Africa. So thanks to all of you guys. We felt it, the messages. I mean, it's been insane. It's been like, for me, 27 years, kind of like 1999 was when I started watching cricket. So relieved, but also very excited, because that choker tag was starting to weigh on me. You know what I mean? So yeah, very excited.
I think if anybody can understand, it's us, because we've also been, we've carried that tag for many years. Ever since 2011 World Cup, we haven't been able to manage any ICC trophy, and the chokers tag was hanging on our necks as well. But of course, in the last 2 years, we've been able to escape that with the win of T20 World Cup and the Champions Trophy. But yes, the Test Championship eludes us, even though we've made it to 2 of the 3, finals that have played. In fact, even this one, we were pretty close. But in fact, I was rooting for a South Africa versus India final again. It would have been fitting.
I thought that there was a good chance of that happening, because India's just been playing so well in Australia, and yeah, I mean, that's also another thing that we can talk about, India versus England. But I mean, it's going to be a big series for India, but also for England as well. They're under pressure. Baz McCullum as well. They've stuck with him now for years and years. So both teams going into that series with a lot of pressure, which should make it really exciting.
That's true. But we'll come to that later. But first, we need to talk about that final and what initially led up to it. I mean, the fact that India could have played South Africa had we done better in the BGT. But somewhere I feel, in fact, if you look at the match, the WTC final, it reminded me of so many of those, out of those 5 matches that we played, apart from the pink ball and the Perth test, it was the same story, because had we done what South Africa managed to do in the second innings, that is stay on the wicket, probably the results would have been a bit different. Not to be, that was not on the cards. But I do have to ask you about that. First of all, let's start with Tembe Bavuma, Lord Bavuma, and his captaincy. I think it's about 9 tests that he has won on a trot. He hasn't lost any.
So I think he won 8 and 1 draw, but maybe it's now 9-1. I'm not sure, but you're correct. He's got like a 90%.
Yeah, I think it is 9 now with the WTC final.
Yeah, he's been I mean, he's just been kind of like the stalwart for us in this format. If you just look at his consistency since he's become captain, I think he averages like 60 for, over the last 18 months. And people look at his average, and I think his average in Test cricket is like 38. But in the last, you should look at his last 2 to 3 years. I think his average is like 50 plus. So he's just been leading from the front. I thought his bowling choices as well. A couple of us questioned, bringing on Lungi Ngidi in that second Australian batting innings. Everybody was calling for Rabada. This has to be Rabada. But he showed faith in Lungi Ngidi, and that would probably go down as one of Lungi's spells of his life. I mean, he brought us back into a game, him and Kagiso, that we were so far behind, and in the space of one session we didn't just crawl our way back. It felt like we were in a dominant position when they were like 73 for 7, I think. So I think his captaincy has been phenomenal, and he's just taken it upon himself. That's going to be a big thing for Shubman Gill as well, is you always look at the captain. And I think with Timber, same with Pat Cummins as well, he also bowled incredibly well. You look at your captain and you want them to lead from the front, whether it is with the bat or with the ball like Pat. I just thought we saw 2 amazing captains going at it for 4 days. So I'm very proud of Timber, and I'm sure, he is as well.
Yeah, the match was a treat to watch, session by session, every session, I'm sure. In fact, a lot of people said that, it was... in fact, by the end of the 3rd day, it looked like South Africa. No, the 2nd day, I believe, it was like South Africa was probably being written off actually by a lot of people. But then the way Markram and Bavuma, held on to the wicket and batted through the day, and faced people like Stark. I mean, bowlers like Stark and Cummins and Hazelwood, and yet managed not only to keep their wickets intact but also score at a decent pace. I mean, I remember messaging you that this is how Test match actually needs to be played, and that's what they did. Went back to the books and played exactly as it's supposed to be. Not that baseball nonsense or any fancy shots or taking risks, etc., and showing that intent. The word that is doing so much of.
Even going at like 4 runs and over. We did that for, I don't know if we did that for 20 overs, and then you're like, they can't keep this up. 20 overs, we're going at 4 and over, and they just kept on. That's, I think, it's another thing that I have to bring up, because they spoke about this, is that Shukri, our coach, I think the batting coach as well, didn't want Temba to go back out, because remember, he got that hamstring injury just before tea. And my dad was also telling me he must retire. And I was thinking to myself, no, this is the 2 senior guys. Because for me, Temba was frustrating Australia, because here's a guy, he's injured, an injured soldier, and they just can't get him out. The last thing you want to do is give Australia, open a door for them, for them to come back into the game. But it's all about conditions. I think the first 2 days, I think what we tried to do in the first innings was that we just tried to play for the beautiful conditions, because we spoke about intent. That word is incredibly annoying to me, because I feel like this is Test cricket. There's a moment to attack and there's a moment to defend. And I thought that they did that. Just look at like their defensive modes and how they attacked those 2 batters. They just played the perfect brand of Test cricket there for me. And we earned our position, to bat in those conditions in day 3. I felt like Australia had the opportunity, but they played an odd brand of cricket for me on the end of, day 2 now? Yes, they kind of just went after every ball, and, there was cloud cover. I think a lot of Australians will speak about that moment also and think, I don't know, did they maybe underestimate Lungi Ngidi because he didn't have a good first innings? Because I just questioned their tactics. I felt like they a lot of them threw their wickets away a bit, and we just took the opportunities, which is what you do in Test cricket.
I agree. I think even Lungi Ngidi, I remember I watched one of your videos saying that you were not very happy with him being chosen in the side instead of, that's what you had mentioned. So I honestly have always been, I've admired him and Rabada. As an Indian fan, I've always looked up to him and thought, we need pacers like this more in our side as well. But I guess records show something different. And Rabada, of course, now he's sorry, number 2 after only Bumrah, but a lot of people actually think he's better. And I personally feel that Bumrah has an advantage because of his action and, so many other things. But as far as fast bowlers go, as far as pacers go, I think Rabada is by the book. And so he is really, really good. And in fact, might just be. And then, Jasprit Bumrah has his injury issues. I mean, all fast bowlers do. But then because of his action, Bumrah is more injury prone. But Rabada's fitter, taller, he ticks all the boxes in the fast, pacers book. So I personally feel that it's a very equal match.
It's funny you speak about Rabada because before the match, I don't know if this was on ICC's page on Instagram or whatever, there was this video of some of the South African guys walking in, and I just looked at Rabada's legs from behind, his calves, and I was just like thinking to myself, out of all the fast bowlers I've seen in my life, now I'm talking about people from all over the world, I don't think I've ever seen somebody that looks as athletic as Kagiso Rabada looks. He's just got a great build, and he's got a very easy, he's got a good flow, good rhythm, his action. So he can bowl many, many overs. Coming back to Ngidi, I think the thing with Ngidi is that we didn't really see him play a lot of matches leading up to this final. So I think a lot of us were quite nervous. We were kind of like trying to understand in terms of selection. And then I thought, okay, well then it must be a tactical selection why they're choosing him over Dane Patterson, because the thing with Dane Patterson is, he plays in England 2 years, both of them over 50 wickets in the county comp. So I think a lot of people questioned that decision. And in that first innings, he goes for almost 6 runs and over, and you're thinking to yourself like, on my video, I was up until 3 a.m. That really did happen. I know sometimes people make videos and they lie, but I was really up until 3 a.m. just like hoping that I'm wrong, because you want to beat Australia, everybody's going to have to chip in. And my goodness, did he come and chip in. And look, there's nobody happier than me sitting right here, because if it weren't for those 3 wickets, that spell, Australia could have had over 300. You think about Smith being there on day 3, they could have gotten 350 lead, and that looks a hell of a lot different than, a 280. So no, congrats to him and Kagiso as well, getting the same 2 wickets. What did you think of that? Green and Khawaja, again, both in 1 over. That was amazing.
In fact, like I said, it was a session by session thing, and then initially it looked like it could be even lesser because it hadn't been for Stark and that partnership he had with was it Smith or
Hazelwood? I think Hazelwood.
Yeah, that was the irksome 7th or 8th wicket partnership that lasted a bit longer than expected.
Ruchika, it was the last wicket partnership.
The last wicket.
Can you imagine us being frustrated watching that?
Ugh. Right, that was what it was. I mean, I was like a little out of it. But so that was it. I was thinking, that it should have been, this total should have been lesser. And probably that's why at the end of that day, South Africa was being written off. Because they said that, South Africa crumbled in the first innings. Nobody scored above a 50 also. So it looks like they're going to be, under pressure again and facing, these fire-breathing dragons of bowlers. So, it's going to be very difficult for them. But then came Markram and Bavuma, and how good was Markram? I know you said that you wanted Rabada and Markram to share that man of the match. But then I think he was the one who pulled, victory out of the jaws of defeat. While Rabada was the one who set the stage nicely, it was him that got you through to the final line, So what do you have to say about that?
I actually just got a little bit of chills here on my arm when you speak about that, because on the South African broadcast on SuperSport afterwards, so obviously I'm having a nice little beer and I'm watching everything unfold, and all of our commentators are having interviews with our players, and I think it was Mark Nicholas who actually asked Rabada, like, do you feel a bit hard done by, not getting the man of the match? And Rabada is such a gentleman. He actually said that, on a bowling friendly pitch and bowling friendly conditions, it was cloudy a lot and overcast and whatnot. He said that at the end of the day, he also agrees that on a bowling pitch to score 136, 130 odd runs really was let's say the bigger performance. But my goodness, in what world do you take 9 wickets and you don't get, man of the match? But that's exactly what South Africa needed. We needed guys to all fight to get that man of the match. Play your best individual game, which is another thing that I asked for before this match is, work together as a team, but as individuals, that's Test cricket. One person can change the entire game. Like we spoke about Rabada taking the fifer, Ngidi, that's 3 for, Aiden's 130, Themba Bavuma injured 66. So I do think at the end, it's understandable why Markram got that, because nobody scored a Test 100 in that match. But, Cummins took a fifer as well. But they're best friends, they've been playing cricket together, Rabada and Markram, which makes this story even more beautiful, is that those two gave us our first ICC trophy, when they were under 19. That's
under 19,
more than
yes,
10
back
years
in 2015.
ago. Can you imagine that if those two were chatting together all those years ago? I don't think they could have imagined what they did over the last 5 days, because that's just a dream too big to dream. And there you go. They were the two stars of the match for sure.
For sure. And let's talk a little bit about Australia as well. Where do you think, especially when it came to the bowling department, where do you think they really faltered? I mean, I remember, towards the end of the innings when they were just going at everything, because it was like I think still had 40 to 50 runs to go. That's when they exhausted all their reviews, because Alex Carey was so sure in that one ball. He was like, I've heard something. I think there is a nick. So let's, go for the review.
Yeah.
And then when it was nothing on the, what is that called?
The Snicko, I think. I also can't think now. Yeah.
So when there was nothing on it, he was like, well, he was like so sure that, there was something, but okay, well, so they lost all their reviews. So it looked like they were desperate. They were just trying to get something, and they were hoping maybe for a collapse like they were used to in the BGT with us Indians, always ensuring that collapse came. And they won there was this match, which I think it was the 4th of the series, which was not the pink ball test, the one after that, where we could have still survived. We could have still probably, if we had drawn that match, it could have, and won the next, we could have, it would have been a 2-2 or something like that. We would have managed to do that.
Yeah.
But no, it was such a bad collapse at the end of the innings that we lost the match. It was just one session and we lost it. If we had survived that one session, we would have been able to draw. But no, that didn't happen. So maybe they were hoping for something similar in, with the South African innings also. Maybe they were hoping that, even if it's 30, 40 runs, if we are able to somehow trigger a collapse, we would be able to, that was the only way, because they needed those wickets. Because, of course, we had one more day after that. But it never came. No, I remember, in fact, even you said something about Stubbs, because he looked a little uncomfortable out there. He was...
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're a fan of this.
No, I'm a big fan of Stubbs. I'm also a Delhi Capital fan because of Stubbs. So, no, you have to understand, he's definitely him and Brevis and Luandre Pretorius, Kwena Mapaka, our future is looking so bright. I think for me with Stubbs is I'm not quite sure that he knows exactly what kind of test player he wants to be. So the thing about Stubbs is, he's one of my favorite players. I mean, like I said, Kwena, Luandre, Brevis, Stubbs, our future looks incredibly bright. But I'm just wondering if Stubbs has found his identity as a test player, because if I look at Markram, for example, the way that he played against Australia is literally the reason South Africa picked him all those years ago. And, he scored like 1,000 runs in his first season of Test match cricket. He was incredible. And he did that by playing the way that he played here. Solid defense, but also, being active in the crease, being busy. And the thing with Stubbs is that he's such a busy player in white ball cricket. But when it came to red ball here now, I think it was 9 or 40 balls or something like that. It's still a good pitch. It's a good pitch to bat on. The conditions were good. So for me, I just wonder, I'm still not sure what's the best position for him to bat in, because you want to be the number 5, then that means you've got to be somebody who counterattacks. And he didn't really do a lot of that. Bedingham, I'm going to be honest with you, the moment, obviously we were nervous coming into the day 4, because as much as I love my country and I put my head on the chopping block for them, the devil that is doubt is always going to be here, telling you all these things about South Africa. But when Bedingham came in, I felt very comfortable because he plays really well in England. He is that kind of guy that frustrates bowling attacks. They set fields and then he just toys with the field, which is another thing that Aiden Markram did well. And Temba's got his role. He's our Mr. Consistent in the middle. He's also good with. So it's just about Stubbs, I think, finding his role in that Test side. Look, there's a lot of competition. We've got a lot of talented players now. So we'll see how things move forward. But yeah, I know it's a final as well, so maybe he was a bit nervous, but I just feel like he needs to maybe sit down with the coach and everybody needs to have a chat and be like, this is the kind of player that we think you can be in this Test setup. So that's again why Bavuma was so important to stay, because we didn't have a lot of experience there at the back. And that's how a collapse maybe sometimes can happen, is when the senior guys, don't perform, and now it's all on the younger guys, and that's where panic can start setting in. But the senior guys did their job, and so here we are. We are the winners of the World Test Championship final.
That's what matters. At the end of the day, it's all that matters.